Bonjour, bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome, hello and welcome chez Parfum Prononcé, Perfume Pronounced. Je m'appelle Jérôme. I am Jerome, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about blind buying and why I think you should do it at least once. And I'll talk about my experience with a particular fragrance and as well as my history with blind buying. So I have been a major blind buyer in the past. I've done so because for a few reasons. I have no patience. I'm very impulsive. And when I want something, I want it. And I also don't. The nearest department store that would have the sort of fragrances, the niche fragrances that I would want to try or that I would be interested in trying or buying or whatever. The nearest place is like an hour and 20-minute drive. And it's just I would rather just buy it and get the satisfaction immediately of buying it and knowing that it's going to come in the mail and then have to look forward to that or whatever. I'm going to talk today about a Creed blind buy that I did. It was when I first started my sort of voyage with the House of Creed, as is most people's. I don't know, when most people, when they dip their toe into niche fragrances, it's usually Creed. They have pretty accessible, offerings in the sense of like appealing. So my first experience with blind buying went pretty well. Went pretty well. It was Original Vetiver, not a super complex fragrance. I was very happy with it. I think I paid, I didn't pay retail, because if you pay retail for Creed prices nowadays, you're either stupid or you have money to burn. And if you have money to burn, then God bless. Like, for sure, go do it. Buy whatever you want. And Original Vetiver was my first. And like I said, I was pleased with it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it smelled soapy and green, and the vetiver was one of the very early notes that I was able to sort of differentiate and sort of tell. Like, it was like the first note that I came to know and understand and be able to recognize in scents and in fragrances. So I was pretty happy with that. Not that the vetiver and Original Vetiver is like super, earthy or even like bitter or super herbal or anything like that. It's pretty mild. It's actually kind of soapy. But anyway, okay, here we go. Creed, right? I'm ready to go. I'm ready to buy another one. And so my next Creed purchase, after much after much deliberation, after a considerable amount of research, looking up reviews online. I've never really been into the YouTuber reviews. Like, I know that's what I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you via YouTube, but personally in my own life, I'm a reader. So I read like all of the reviews that I possibly could on Base Notes and all of the reviews that I possibly could on Fragrantica for the next Creed fragrance that I wanted to buy, which was Bois du Portugal. So again, it's woods of Portugal, and in French it would be Bois du Portugal. Bois du Portugal. So woods of Portugal. And so that was the one. That was my next Creed fragrance. I couldn't at the time. I couldn't afford a Ventus. I just couldn't afford it. I didn't have. I think at the time, I want to say it was going for what I eventually paid for it. It was like $330 or something, and that was from a discounter. But Bois du Portugal was going off. I want to say I got it in like the low to mid twos or something like that. $200 and some roughly, and super happy about it. The reviews, I mean, it's got like it's probably in the fours somewhere on Fragrantica in terms of like the rating that it has. It's got a solid rating on Base Notes, and I was super excited about it. I was really looking forward to it. And then it came in the mail. And I was super excited, like niche fragrance Creed. I was super happy, super excited to get it. And opened that bad boy up, sprayed it. And granted, this was the second scent of my Creed fragrance collection. The first of which was Original Vetiver, which is like so easy right? So easy and mass appealing. And just not challenging whatsoever, to this second fragrance, Bois du Portugal. And let me tell you, I sprayed it, tested it, smelled it. I was furious. I was so pissed off. I was so furious. I can't tell you how upset I was at the fact that I just dropped $250 probably with shipping or whatever, $250, which is still probably half of what the retail is, but $250 on a bottle and it was a 4-ounce bottle, like when Creed made the, I wish they could still do it, make the square 4-ounce bottles, the 120 mil, I think. And yeah, I had a giant bottle of it, and I could not stand it. I thought, oh my God, like, what did I do? What did I do here? This smells, and I don't like to necessarily get into ages for scents and all that kind of mess, but in all honesty, it smelled like something that I would gift a dying grandfather or something like that. Like somebody like 190 years old. That's what it smelled like. And I was so pissed off. I was so upset. However, and this is why I think you should blind buy at least once, right? Once you spend that kind of money on a fragrance, you have two choices basically, or I guess you have three. I mean, you have as many choices as you want, but you could let it sit on the shelf, right? And not touch it, not wear it, and it just sits there. Or you could try to get some money back off of it. You could sell it on eBay or Mercari or wherever you want to sell it. I guess, or you could gift it to somebody. I mean, or find some way to dispose of it or whatever and try to get some money back. Because at the time, like I just wasn't going to wear it. When you make a purchase like that and you get a scent that is not what you expected and not what you wanted and not what you wanted to smell like, you are forced in that moment, if you've chosen to keep it, if that's the choice that you've made, if you've chosen to keep it, you're forced to try to appreciate it. And by trying to appreciate it, I don't mean delude yourself and say that it's great when you don't think it's great. Like there's a difference. There's a difference between you got skunked on a frag that cost you a bunch of money, and now you're gonna just like fake it and say, "Oh, this is awesome," to try to like justify the expense in your mind. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something slightly different. The conditions are the same. You still lost a lot of money that you spent on a fragrance that upon first sniff, you're just like, oh my God, what did I do, right? Thankfully, the fragrance that I had this experience with was a Creed, and it was Bois du Portugal. Thank you. I am very happy that the fragrance that I was disappointed with was that fragrance. Why am I happy that it was that fragrance? Because it is a very well done, well-crafted performance, excellent performance, excellent longevity. It's just a great fragrance in general. It's just at that time, it wasn't what I expected, nor was it what I wanted to smell like at the time at all. But I did give it some time because I thought to myself, I can't be the only one. Like, even if this isn't something that I want to wear on a daily basis, I have to try to figure out what it is about this scent that clicks with people, because I want to understand it. I don't want to just write it off and be like, oh, that's garbage. Like, I hated it, blah, 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 whatever, right? And there's an extra motivation to like try to understand or try to draw something from it, because again, I did spend a bunch of money on it, right? I read the notes. I went back to Fragrantica. I went back to the page and I read the notes of the fragrance. And I don't know all the notes, but it's obviously cedar. Cedar plays a big role in this fragrance. There's probably ambergris in it, or Ambrox or Ambrofix or whatever synthetic that they're using, although it's Creed, so they're going to claim that they used ambergris from Moby Dick or whatever, in their history or whatever. I read the notes of the fragrance on Fragrantica, and I tried my best to smell one particular note stood out, and that was the bergamot. Bergamot is a citrus. I believe it's made. It's like a genetic thing where they crossbreed a bitter orange with a lime or something like that, something along those lines, where they crossbreed it and it becomes a bergamot. Like it's a bergamot tree. So that's the note that I wanted to search for and I wanted to find. And I remember I came home and I sprayed it and I was like, that's all I'm going to look for in this fragrance. That's the only note that I'm going to try to pick out. And I'm just going to focus on that. Just try to smell the bergamot. I smelled the cedar. I know what cedar smells like. I know that. So that one was, I could recognize that one. But bergamot was a new scent for me, a new note. And so I wanted to try to see if I could smell it and pull it out of that scent. And I can tell you that it was one of the most, profound experiences that I've had with perfumery. I remember I put it up to my nose and I just closed my eyes and I focused, and there it was. I could smell the very sharp citrus bergamot smell. I could smell it. And at that moment, it's like my brain opened up. It's like my brain opened up and my nose opened up to the scent itself, right? I wasn't just smelling, oh, old man, oh my God, dusty old cedar closet. I smelled the citrus in that fragrance, and it was almost like the citrus wasn't even there, because when I first smelled it, I didn't know what to look for, and all I could smell was just this agglomeration or accumulation of this just aura that I didn't like, and I didn't like the scent. But once I started trying to pick out the notes, and that fragrance taught me about perfumery. It taught me how to kind of try to dissect the scent. And if you don't like something the first time, give it another go. I mean, obviously, if it physically repulses you, then you're not going to like it, and don't try it. But if you're something that you're like, it's probably not my style, give it some time. Give it some time. Try to look for some notes, right? Maybe some notes that you have some familiarity with, something that you can pick out, and then try to smell it in that fragrance that you have. So yeah, that's my experience with blind buying. I think you should do it once. I think you should blind buy at least once if you have the money. Blind buy on a niche fragrance, an expensive niche fragrance. Just do it. But do it after having done your due diligence, after having read reviews, and make sure that the fragrance that you're blind buying is a quality fragrance. Okay? It may not hit your mark in terms of when you smell it. It may not be what you were looking for. But if it's a quality fragrance, use it as an experience or an opportunity to learn about fragrance by enjoying that, by smelling that fragrance, by trying to detect the notes, and let that fragrance kind of open you up and teach you about perfume and about scent. So that's why I would recommend blind buying at least once on a big dollar purchase, a big dollar fragrance. Obviously, don't do it at retail unless you have the cheddar. Buy it at retail. But if you don't, use a discounter, especially Creed. They're all over the discounters. And most of them are very accessible. So, and worst case scenario, you can just sell it. You can just sell it on the secondhand market or whatever, like Mercari, eBay, trying to get your money back. And I would recommend you blind buying at least once on something that costs a lot of money, relatively speaking, and something that you've done your due diligence on, and that you are assured at the very least of having a quality fragrance, even though it may not end up to be what you were after in the first place. Merci d'avoir regardé le vidéo. Thank you for having watched the video. Yeah, à la prochaine. Until next time. Au revoir. Merci.